Mindful eating is so much more than a trendy way to lose weight. It's about connecting with our food and our body. And when we do this, we can experience some pretty amazing benefits that go beyond just fitting into our favorite pair of jeans. So today, I want to talk about 3 of my favorite benefits of mindful eating. And stick around till the end, because I have a free guide to help you start practicing mindful eating right away. The first benefit of mindful eating is that it helps us pay attention to our hunger and fullness signals so that we don't overeat. This is one of my favorite benefits of mindful eating because I used to struggle with this a lot. In fact, I would say that 99% of the time I would eat past fullness. That means that I would eat until I felt uncomfortably full. And oftentimes, I would feel bloated afterwards. I wouldn't be able to sleep well at night, and I would even feel like crap after eating. But since I started practicing mindful eating, I've become a lot better at noticing when I'm getting full. So here's how it works. When we eat, there are 2 hormones that are released in our bodies. They're called ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone, and leptin is the fullness hormone. And what happens is, as we start to eat, ghrelin starts to decrease. It goes down, but leptin starts to increase. So this is why when we eat, we tend to feel less hungry, right? But what happens if we keep eating past the point where our ghrelin has gone down to 0 and leptin has started to increase? Well, what ends up happening is we end up elevating our leptin too much, which sends a message to our body that we have an abundance of food available. And this makes our body think that it needs to store excess energy as fat. In addition, when we elevate our leptin too much, it makes our appetite go up, which makes us impulsively reach for the next food that we see. This is why, when we overeat, we tend to feel lethargic, bloated, and we also tend to want to eat more. So the solution is to slow down while eating so that we can pay attention to our body's fullness signals. And this will help us stop eating before our leptin levels get too high. The second benefit of mindful eating is that it slows us down while we're eating, which allows us to savor all the wonderful flavors of our food and also aids in improving digestion. This is another one of my favorite benefits of mindful eating because I used to be a really fast eater. I would literally eat my breakfast in 2 minutes while watching TV, my lunch at my desk while working, and even eat my dinner really fast. I thought that if I slowed down while eating, I would miss out on the opportunity to socialize with my family and friends, or miss out on work deadlines. But once I started to practice mindful eating, I realized that slowing down while eating actually made me enjoy my food more, and it also helped me digest my food better. You see, when we eat really fast, we tend to gulp down air, which causes our stomach to expand quickly. This can lead to bloating and indigestion. In addition, when we eat really fast, we tend to overeat, which puts more pressure on our stomach, which can also lead to bloating and indigestion. Lastly, when we eat really fast, we don't allow our body the time it needs to send fullness signals to our brain, which can also make us feel bloated. So the solution is to slow down while eating. And this can look different for everybody, but some ideas are to take smaller bites, put your utensils down between bites, and also to turn off distractions like the TV or your phone. The third benefit of mindful eating is that it helps us become aware of any emotional eating that we might be doing. This is probably one of the most important benefits of mindful eating, because emotional eating is something that all of us do from time to time. In fact, according to research, 38% of women and 17% of men use food as a coping strategy when they're stressed. And even though emotional eating may feel good momentarily, it can cause us to overeat and also feel guilty afterwards. This is because when we're stressed, our body releases a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is also known as the stress hormone. And what it does is it tells us to eat more carbohydrates and fats because our ancestors used to rely on these foods during times of stress. Back then, these foods were considered a survival food because they provided them with a quick source of energy so that they could either fight or run away from the danger that they faced. But nowadays, we don't really need to eat extra carbs and fats to survive, but our body still responds the same way. This means that when we're stressed, we tend to crave comfort foods like pizza, ice cream, or cookies. And when we eat these types of foods, we tend to feel better momentarily. But ultimately, it ends up making us feel worse because we feel guilty for eating something that's not very nutritious. So the solution is to check in with ourselves and ask why we're eating. Are we really hungry, or are we just eating because we're bored, stressed, or sad? And if we're eating for emotional reasons, then the best thing to do is to address whatever emotions we're feeling. This may mean taking a few deep breaths to calm down if we're stressed, reaching out to a friend if we're lonely, or distracting ourselves with a different activity if we're bored. Lastly, I want to mention one more benefit of mindful eating, and that's that it helps us practice gratitude for the food that we eat and for the nourishment that it provides us. You see, when we practice gratitude for our food, we tend to appreciate it more, which means that we tend to enjoy it more. In addition, when we practice gratitude for our food, we tend to be more satisfied afterwards, which means that we're less likely to impulsively reach for the next food that we see. So, how do we practice gratitude for our food? Well, one way is to say a blessing or a prayer before we eat. Another way is to close our eyes while we eat and really savor all the wonderful flavors of our food. And we can also practice gratitude for our food by simply acknowledging where our food comes from and the people who helped bring it to us. For example, if you eat eggs, you can thank the chickens who laid the egg, or if you drink coffee, you can thank the farmers who grew the coffee beans. So these are just a few of the many benefits of mindful eating. If you want to learn more, I have a free guide that you can download. The link is in the description below, and I would love to hear from you. What are some of the ways that mindful eating has benefited you? Leave a comment below, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.